Hello viewers, I'm Stanislav, this is
Theo.
And today we're going to talk about my 2007 Toyota Camry Solara, also known as the Solara, or most AutoZone reps call the Solara. So
the Solaris.
Yes, sir. So a little bit of background on this vehicle. This was my first car. We purchased it in 2018 in January with about 72,000 miles, I believe. And since then, I've put a little over 70,000 miles on it.
Jeez Louise.
So
she's been used.
Oh, yeah, I think it's pretty visible that she's been used.
I didn't know you had put this many miles on it. I saw on the, it's what, 145,000?
149.5. Due for an oil change.
It's not my strong suit. But yeah, I'm very impressed. It's recently been pristinely detailed. It looks fabulous.
It's a 10-footer car, meaning it looks really good from 10 feet away, right about where the camera is, coincidentally enough.
Or 5 feet if I'm not wearing my glasses, which is now.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it looks spectacular. Right off the bat, I want to hear how it's been reliability-wise, because I know everybody's going to be saying, I bet it's the most reliable car in the world because of this badge here on the front. So I'm hoping you have some horror stories just to make those people angry, but do go ahead.
Right off the bat, this car has been really boring in terms of any problems, any service histories. The most expensive, exciting thing to happen was the 100K mile water pump replacement, along with the timing chain, because this is an interference engine. This is actually the 3MZ-FE, I believe. It's a 3.3 liter V6 with VVTi. It's big and red on the engine cover.
It looks mean.
It looks mean.
It looks like it means business for sure. Yeah. It's very, very sporting, engaging looking. It looks zippy. I was going to say earlier, jokingly, that this is really the Rolls-Royce Wraith of its day. But after riding in it for a few moments, I'm ashamed to say that that's actually kind of true, because these seats, I don't know why, but they are ridiculously comfortable for no reason. The headrest is positioned so you can lean your head back just ever so gently, and it feels like you're just in your own favorite chair at home. It is very, very comfortable. I mentioned I would love to sleep in this car. I think it is, you get that Lexus-y feeling from it, which is good and bad, I think. From a technical standpoint, it's very good because Lexuses are quite fine cars. However, the image, certainly, I told Stanislav, this is slightly just getting close to the looking very nice outside of the senior citizen's home. This color doesn't help it, but it is very Lexus-y, for better or for worse.
So this car is essentially just a two-door Camry. Especially when you start looking at it interior-wise, they're pretty similar to like an 07 Camry, because they're really the same car at the end of the day. This motor was used in literally everything. I know my friend's Highlander with over 200,000 miles has the same motor. It does burn a little bit of oil and it does leak around the head gasket, but it's about due for a service anyways, so I'm really not chalking it up to this car being bad. But for practicality wise, it being two doors may be deceivingly unpractical, but the amount of room you have in the back of the car, I could sit behind myself comfortably in the back seat.
It's no BMW M6.
Absolutely not.
It's very roomy in here. We should mention this came in a convertible. Do you think the convertible is the more popular configuration of this vehicle?
I definitely think so, because at this time, the only convertible that was in Toyota's lineup was essentially this or the SC430, which was the coolest one, the cooler one. And I do see a lot more convertibles driving around, especially because the Camry was never supposed to be sporty. This is the second gen, and they tried, reinvigorating it by trying to give it some more sportiness, some more sporty lines, as a little nice lip spoiler that does absolutely nothing, I'm sure. And they added a strut bar in the front to try and improve body rigidity. It does nothing.
It honestly doesn't work because it actually rides quite nicely.
Yes, which is the nice thing about it.
I mean, we were just up on the cobblestone up there, and I was actually shocked by how smoothly it rides. I mean, the old folks would love that.
Right, and you know, that's one of the most important things you're looking at when you're looking at a car you're going to drive every day. Especially if you do have, you know, a little toy car you want to play with on the weekends, essentially.
Which you do. So,
which I do. Very fortunate for that.
You know, I do. I think before I kind of started looking into this car a little bit more and spending time in it, this car is kind of like the girlfriend that the friend group doesn't like that you have, because it gets in the way of you spending time with your true love, which is of course your Boxster. But I kind of understand now why you like this car so much, because it is just a very nice, comfortable, nicely dampened, nicely insulated. I don't want to say elegant, because it isn't really, is it? But it's a reasonably attractive coupe. And that's, I mean, what else do you want for a daily driver, especially someone like you who's a young man? But you do, of course, have, I mean, every time I've been in the car, there's almost certainly been
four people, pretty much.
Exactly. So the back seats get used, and it's perfect. It does the job perfectly.
Right. The back seats do go down also for a pass-through from the trunk. So I've hauled lumber in it. I forget the size, but it looked absolutely ridiculous. It almost looked like something out of Final Destination, but it worked. I've hauled, I think, 32 bags of mulch in the back seat. It looked really cool then because the back was squatted and actually looked sporty almost. I'm sure that ruined the suspension, but I mean, I haven't had problems. It's been like 30, 40,000 miles since I did that. I put my bikes in the car all the time. Unfortunately, only one bike at a time, but it's a coupe that you could put your bike in all the way and still have more storage for anything else you're gonna be bringing for the day. I've done multiple road trips on this car, up to Erie and back, 350 miles in one day, absolutely no problem. I've had passengers tell me a lot of my passengers aren't actually car people, but they all go, oh, this ride's so smooth, so nice. And deep down inside, I'm like, yeah, which kind of sucks, but at other time, I'm so glad I do not care about anything, any kind of road feel in this car, because this is essentially an amazing daily car or a road trip car, because it is roomy, but beautiful sunroof. You have massive, massive doors.
The doors are massive. I mentioned this. It was one of the first things I noticed actually getting into the car. Holding a pizza box, no less. So it was very easy to slide in and out. If you can imagine me holding, what size pizza was it?
It's a large.
A large white pizza, just seamlessly in and out. I'm pretty limber though, but I think that the doors being this wide is a great, practicality aspect of it. Also makes it a lot easier for getting into the back seats as we'll show, I'm sure.
Right. Here I am getting into the passenger side seat of the Solara, about where I would have it. And Theo's back here, and he's got quite enough room.
Very comfortable.
Yeah, it is shocking how much room this car has. I think that comes from the fact that this is a Camry with the doors chopped off, basically.
I could sleep back here for sure.
I have.
Very cozy.
Alongside with the doors, you have these really cool frameless windows, which I really like the look of, but it kind of irks me, especially when passengers decide to close the door like this.
Oh, yes.
These doors are huge and heavy, which suck if you park on a big hill, which we have a lot of. And people are always like, oh, I can't close the door, it's too big.
They're not Aston Martin struts on the doors, but
no.
It's not an Aston Martin.
It's not an Aston Martin. It doesn't have to be.
No.
No.
It does its job perfectly for what it's meant to do. I don't think they ever envisioned someone like yourself buying this car.
No, it's
in the Toyota design room.
I don't think so. I kind of do think they did, and they kind of don't, because this is like a weird era.
Maybe they wish this is who. Maybe now they'll reach out to us, Toyota, and be so pleased because the person they designed the car for actually has it, and not just some retiree in Boca Raton.
I think it's interesting you bring up the target demographic of this car when it came out, because this being the 2.5 gen, the second gen coming out around like 04, I believe, they kind of wanted to reinvigorate it with, like, as we said, that sporty kind of feeling, driving nature, and all that sporty driving feeling and nature that they ended up doing was putting in that strut bar that, again, does nothing, but who cares?
Looks good on paper.
Yes, looks good on paper, and I'm sure it won some brownie points at the engineer that thought about it.
Right,
because it desperately needs more rigidity. I can only imagine how floaty and kind of sketchy the convertible drives without any of that.
Oh, that's a good point.
Reinforcement.
I'd be interested to check out one of those, actually.
Yeah.
The convertible.
Let's go find one.
Let's go find it. If you have one, email us and we'll review it.
So with that being said, I think it's time to get in the car, give it a little drive, and show Theo what a whole 210 horsepower almost 20 years ago feels like in a car that weighs over 3,400 pounds. This is a heavy car. But I mean,
I'm excited to get the heated seat on because it is getting a bit chilly.
Heated seat with all the windows down.
Yes.
All right, everybody, here we are driving
the
2007 Toyota Camry Solara. Wow, that was not scripted.
It wasn't.
So this is going to be an interesting escape.
It's turned into a night drive.
It's turned into a night drive, and I am currently doing off-roading that the Range Rover has not even seen yet.
No, I have not done this this much off-roading yet.
But you know what? I've done way worse things in this car, driving-wise. I've taken it off the beaten path for sure. And I think what I really want to focus on is the importance of your first car, whatever it be. So some backstory is, so we bought this car. My family, very kindly gifted me this car for my high school graduation.
Look at this turn.
Jeez Louise. So my family gifted this for my graduation, but they got it early. In January, I graduated in May. I got my license fairly late compared to most high schoolers. I got it on my second time taking my driver's test. I was 17. I failed the first time because I got too nervous driving a stranger in the car. And now I'm no stranger to driving strangers.
Yes.
So, when I first got the car, I was nervous because it is a large car, and it's a scary thing when you're finally on the road yourself without, any kind of parental supervision or any kind of guardian checking in on you to make sure you're doing okay driving. Oh, big bump.
Big bump. The cum-ho tires do a nice job on here too.
But this car, got me to my first job. It got me through school. I was putting on a little over 1,000 to 1,200 miles a month.
Wow. When
I was in school. And, it did it no problem. Again, the biggest problem was this car being so heavy, it burns through tires. Really does.
Maybe if we get a nice deal with Michelin or somebody, they can hook you up with some tires.
The straight pipes have Continental, but
yeah,
I think we'd look like good Michelin spokespeople. I think.
We would. Pirellis.
Pirelli.
I wonder if does Pirelli make a tire for this?
It's not specific to the vehicle,
right?
But there is nothing specific to this car because it is just a commuter grade vehicle where people don't care what tires they have. At one point, I was really hyper fixated on finding out what tire provides the best performance, best ride for this. And I know some people in the Facebook groups buy really nice expensive tires for these cars, but for those people, this car kind of is their Sunday cruiser, which I think is the kind of person that previously owned this, because it was in immaculate condition when we bought it used. I almost feel bad with how much I've put this car through, but this car has been dependable, always there for me. Again, unfortunately for you, no problems at all. The Toyota nameplate, especially this motor, this drivetrain, the 3MZFE is rather bulletproof. It does burn oil eventually, but all cars do. Just top it up. If it burns oil, it's like you always have an oil change, Another nice luxury feature is the sunroof.
That sounded like a plane.
It does sound like a plane taking off, because you know why?
Why?
Because you have sport mode on your 5-speed slush box of a transmission. Fourth gear, third gear. Want to do second and 45? Yep.
Can we time how long that took? Not what I'd call brisk, but
no, nor
it's not
confidence
supposed to be.
expiring.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I want to see how long it takes to change gear. It's not. This
Long.
was offered with a manual. We should mention, but it's very rare.
Very rare. I don't think I've seen any second-gen manuals though. All of them were the first generation that started, I think, 99-ish. But it
was still called the Camry then, wasn't it? Or
well, that was a different car. They had the two-door Camry, which doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Or
yeah,
it existed for a very short period of time. It's like along the era of when Toyota had the Camry wagon, which I've seen around here once. I'm pretty sure it's the only person, because I have not seen any other ones other in that champagne, cough beige color that our minivan was. But back in the day, you could actually order a supercharger from TRD back when they were actually a performance brand, not just a fancy trim thing. And those superchargers go for crazy money nowadays. $3K at least.
Wow.
And I've seen people that have them on there. It turns into like a 5.5 second car, 0 to 60. I don't think that's worth it for this car. That's not what this car is supposed to be. This car is supposed to be the young man's Lexus.
That's a good way to describe it, actually.
Right, because it's missing.
I'm impressed. That's good work.
Yeah?
That's good. You're a good wordsmith there.
That'll be the last time you ever say that.
You can write a nice article for the magazine. A young man's Lexus. I mean, in Toyota's dreams, that is what this is.
This is someone who was aspiring to want a Lexus back in the day.
Aspiring to live on the golf course.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how many bags of clubs you can fit in the trunk. Again, I've thrown my bike in there. I've, hauled not drywall. That'd be sick though. Imagine hauling drywall. I hate this intersection with a burning passion. Pittsburgh drivers will understand. We just turned onto 51 off of East Carson Street.
Let's get a nice pull here.
Nice little pull. All right, we're in fourth, third, second.
Yeah.
So it takes about 3 to 5 business days to upshift.
Right.
Even if you are in the manual mode, which is a little concerning because a car does smell like burning oil, but that's the performance car this is.
Right.
Not
exactly.
at all.
No, I don't have anything positive to say about that experience. I mean, it wasn't scary, I should say, which is good.
It's scarier for me because the steering feel in this car, non-existent.
Oh, I bet.
Non-existent, which is nice if you want to shut your brain off after a long day and just kind of, like, I can move the steering wheel a good 2 inches, I think. That was an exaggeration. But a good 1.5 inches at least.
How is it, does it kind of tram line? Like, if you just let go of the steering wheel on a straight, is it going to maintain the straight line?
I'd say so. With a proper alignment and good tires, it should. Again, I've set this on cruise control for like hours at a time and forgot the car was even driving. That's how serene this experience is.
Yeah. I mean, sorry to interrupt, but I must say how comfortable this seat is.
Recline all the way back. So this car was also...
Oh, you were kidding.
I was not kidding. Unfortunately, I think a crime of this era, but not really. This was right before the recession hit. So the bright side of that is you still get like real steel body panels, which is fantastic for like repairability standpoint.
The doors are nice and
The
heavy.
doors are nice. The design on them give off a pretty like Lexus, like pre-modern Lexus design with kind of how like they do that fake swoop thing. But the cost cutting in here, especially when you compare it to like an SC430, is very apparent. You only get soft touch in places that matter, but for a luxury car, that's not enough. Not that this was a luxury car, but if you go in the back seats, the entire like rear area where the rear doors would have been hard touch plastic with kind of an ugly weathered finish for some reason. Again, I'm very tall, so my knees hit off of a lot of things, but they're not exactly soft touch plastic, but they're not like
You'd have about a mile and a half to move back to if you wanted to.
Right, yeah, I can move back, I can lay down and drive.
This seat is all the way back, and I'm 6 foot, and I can almost fully stretch out my legs.
It's a comfy space to be in.
Yeah.
And the only people that complain about me driving them in this car are the people who have to deal with the 8-second maneuver it is to get into the back of the car. I always move the seat forward for them to try and like entice them, like, hey, it's not that bad back there. And it really isn't, especially compared to something like an M6.
No, yeah.
Which cost...
Insert video of Stan trying to get into the back of that and then show me getting into the back of this.
It's night and day.
Yeah. But one thing that is really good about this car compared to, let's say, any other luxury 2-door car, those cars will have electric seats. So you can't give it the old... And it goes straight forward. You don't need to wait half an hour for it to cruise forward for there to be enough room for you to get in. It just slides forward, you get in.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because along the lines of cost cutting, I have a fully power seat on this side. You don't.
Oh.
I have an automatically one-touch automatically rolling down window for the driver's side. That side does not, even from the driver's door.
Did they save 2 cents on that?
I hope so. I hope they did. But, it's just a symptom of the time, because if you wanted that extra feature, that extra touch, you went ahead and bought a Lexus.
Right.
Because you could afford it. But the thing is, this car was pretty expensive in the day, too. It was, I think, in the 30s in 2007.
Wow.
Which is...
In today's money...
That's like $45K?
At least, yeah, I would say.
Working on this car is a little tough because of how tight the engine bay is.
Which is weird, because it's... I don't know, the front end of this car isn't...
It's not huge.
Where it gets its size from. The size is kind of...
Right after the quarter panels,
yeah.
Gas mileage in this car is quite terrible because of how large of a vehicle this is. Especially from the era, these V6s really didn't get good gas mileage. You had the 4-cylinder option that did better, but this is too big of a car to have that 4-cylinder, and that's just my opinion. But I get combined maybe 21, 22 miles a gallon, which I guess isn't terrible for the time, but this car also wants premium. It doesn't get it all the time. But yeah, that's it. You should not spend more than 10 grand on this car, I think.
Yeah.
Unless it is a pristine convertible, then you should.
But that being said, as we've mentioned, this is the kind of car that you can kind of take a risk on and buy one that's a bit beat up. What was the beep?
Yeah, you could take a risk on buying one of these car used.
Yeah.
I've seen them with 300, even 400K miles in the Solara groups on Facebook. And I think that just kind of, unfortunately, but fortunately, just has that Toyota, like, look at me, look what I'm doing, look what I can, look at all these miles I got.
Yeah. Is this going to stay with you for the rest of your life?
No.
Okay.
No, I
was hoping for a romantic answer there, but that's okay.
I've loved this car, and I've loved my ownership with it, because it was just so important to me kind of developing into the young adult that I sort of am now. It's taken me through so many various aspects of life, so many places. I've driven so many people in here, had a lot of good times, some rough times, but that's what life in general is.
And that's why we love cars.
That's why we love cars. Could not have said it better
myself. They're always
myself.
going to be your friend.
Tell me what the next logical replacement for this vehicle would be.
Yes, a Continental GT is what I would tell you, but you're going to say no.
Of course.
But yeah, give us some suggestions. Tell us what you think about the car, and we'll have some more videos in the future. Stay tuned.
See ya.
Okie doke.